Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. I'm your host, Dave Mabel. Thanks tons for tuning in. This week's guest, Joy Franco, is an old friend of mine. We stayed in the same house for Cyclocross Nationals in 2019 when they were in Seattle, Washington. Actually, more specifically, because I looked it up, they were held at Fort Steilacoom Park in Lakewood, Washington, just south of Des Moines. Of course, I live in Des Moines. I think they say that funny, so I had to say that. Anyway, Joy and I have stayed in touch a little bit since then, but she sure seemed to get busy with her science after she graduated from Stanford. But last year, she got back on her cross bike and she did the US Pro Cyclocross Series, which I think was super awesome. And then this summer and fall, she hit some big gravel races, and she qualified for and attended the UCI Gravel World Championships in the Netherlands. I was super excited for her, and I also thought it would be awesome to talk with her about attending the Age Group World Championships of Gravel. So I dialed her up and we had a great conversation. To be honest, we probably talked for about 3 hours, but we only recorded about an hour of it for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. It sure was fun catching up and hearing all about the Age Group World Championships. And who knows, maybe she'll inspire some of you to jump in and give it a try. So let me introduce you to Joy Franco. Joy Franco, what a treat to see you again. We met at Cyclocross Nationals, maybe 2019 in Seattle-ish, whatever town that was in, south of Seattle. It was like, people called it Tacoma, but it wasn't even Tacoma. I don't remember the name of that town. Do you?
Yeah, now I can't at all.
Anyway, Seattle, Cyclocross Nationals, and we stayed at the same Airbnb. I stayed with a bunch of
Yep.
Californians, and we met there. So it's a treat to see you again 6 years later and talk about, oh my gosh, your latest race, the UCI Gravel World Championships. I just think it's awesome you went, and I can't wait to hear all about it. So anyway, welcome to Bike Talk with Dave. That was a long intro, but great to
I'm
see you.
very excited to be here. It's great to see you again. I've been following all your adventures, since we first met, and that was such a fun nationals trip for me. And actually, I think that trip was how a lot of bike adventure racing started for me, because that crew that we were hanging out with, that's well, and this is more your world, I think, professionally in terms of photography than it is mine. Um, Going to bike races, traveling for bike races, I think that may have been one of my first big ones. And it was just such a blast. I was really glad that I got to crash you with you guys, that it inspired me to keep going and doing stuff like that on my own.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about adventure biking, and that course was an adventure, wasn't it?
Oh my God. I will never be able to black that out. And you got a really fun picture of me going down into that pit. And then I think it was either you or Andrew who got, so one of you got a picture of me up at the top. And this was when I was still descending in my drops for cyclocross. I don't do that anymore, thanks to Adam Meyerson. Um, but there was that steep downhill, and it was just like oil slick.
Oh man.
And on one of the laps, I just ate it hard, like a lot of racers. And someone at the bottom got a picture of me, and I just have this giant smile on my face, and I'm covered in mud. And it's this really dark, black, oily mud.
Yep, 100%.
It was hard. It was a very different style of racing than I had ever experienced in California. It was the most mud I had really experienced, and like the slick nature of it. But man, that was fun.
Yeah, where it was muddy, it was super muddy. Um, that was the year, I want to say, did Gage Hecht win?
Oh, I
Um,
don't remember.
oh, maybe it wasn't Gage, but I don't remember who won. I don't think it was Stephen Hyde, but uh, oh gosh, how can I not think of their names? Um,
Because it
so
was
and
COVID.
so.
It was pre-COVID,
It
so
was
we don't
pre-COVID, so it
remember
was like a whole
anything.
generation ago, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
was like another lifetime. But two of the guys came down the hill together, and one went into the tape
Oh.
and like went into the tape. I want to say it was Gage went into the tape, like threw it into the crowd, and then came out of the tape, and the tape was like flying off him, and it got hooked up in whoever he was riding with's wheel, and they like went ass over
Oh
tea kettle,
God.
and gosh, somebody got that on tape. I was standing right there. I got pictures of something or other. Maybe laying on the ground, but kind of watched it all happen in disbelief. But that's how I remember the mud. Um, Joy Franco puking up rainbows and unicorns. I don't remember the story of that, but I will definitely post that picture on Instagram. And then that tape incident. And you know what? That was the first year Katie Compton didn't win.
Right.
What was her name? Who won?
Oh God. Um,
Katie.
Katie Klaus.
Katie Klaus.
Was it Katie
Yeah,
Klaus who won that year? I think so.
I think so. I don't know. I'm super bad on. I should have done some research about this, but anyway, that was a super fun, super wet, muddy, beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful there. I have a picture
Yeah.
of you went way up on the top. This is so. We're going so off course, but uh, you go way up on the top of that course, and there was some kind of open field riding,
Yep.
some gravel roady
That was
spaces.
fun. There was some fast sections up there.
Yeah, and you could see for a distance, and it was cloudy the entire week, like absolute Seattle, cloudy, rainy, drizzly the whole week, except for like 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes, I was up on that thing, and there was, you could see the course kind of on the horizon, and Mount Rainier like glowing orange in the
Oh,
background. And I got like
so
one
cool.
picture of a rider going across that
Oh, the money
right in front
shot.
of the mountain. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. But and then 10 minutes later, it was gone and never showed
Yep.
back up.
I never got to see that view. But the Seattle area is incredible. Big shout out to the Seattle area for hosting that race and what a phenomenal job they did with it. I mean, I can also say that the crowds and the spectators and the organizers, like just the whole atmosphere around that race, was also one of the reasons why I just wanted to keep doing more and more and more of these like championship races. Because especially if you race in the United States, you don't often get to experience that level of spectatorship,
Right,
and that level of excitement.
right.
And it's definitely become a little bit of addictive. I can sense that in myself. Just even last weekend, so going back to Gravel World Championships, I'd honestly say one of the coolest things about it is just the level of a race and how that community, being in the Netherlands, so close to Belgium, so close to Germany, um, having all of these communities come out there, like all throughout the course, there were people who had like their like RVs set up,
Just alongside
and
the course.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and they had like music going, and they, like they were just out there partying as if it was single speed cyclocross world championships, and they're going USA, USA. you
Oh
know,
wow, that's awesome. I have goosebumps. You telling saying that.
it
That's
was
super
really,
cool.
really fun. And then, I think on like probably the last lap when, it was really, I want to say game over for me in the sense that like I was very ready to be done. It was pretty fun to, sit up for a moment and just like throw my hands out as like pumping up the air, so
Yeah.
in response to their chants. And it was such a welcoming atmosphere. And then even at the expo, and I think, just to kind of go on a little tangent about it here, because there's this question about like UCI gravel, is it really gravel? That's not really gravel. What is gravel? What's not? I think something that some people are missing in all of that dialogue is that there is the UCI, right? There
Yep.
is the administration that is UCI. And then there are the people who put on the races. And the UCI Gravel World Championships, I don't know the organizers like per se, like I didn't meet them. I don't have like a face in my mind, but I don't necessarily think that those are really the same groups of people.
Hmm.
I think that the people who put on UCI Gravel World Championships, like they're gravel racers. Like you could feel that. You could feel how excited and proud, and like you just go on their Instagram, right? Like you go on their Instagram, look at what they're posting, and you really get the sense that these are bike people who
Hmm.
love bike racing, and they are proud to be a part of this sport and proud to host people in their country, and are just excited about creating this environment for
Yeah.
people.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear and an interesting perspective because you do absolutely picture, like even here in the U.S., uh, cyclocross national championships, or even the gravel national championships were just a few weeks ago. They are put on by local organizers, and they
Yeah,
are sanctioned by UCI or USA Cycling. Um, so it's you do easily forget that the events are organized locally by the people who
yeah.
live there and love it and are super excited to host.
Yeah, and that actually was one of the questions going through my mind when I kept hearing people say, "Oh, I don't like UCI gravel." Or I don't care for UCI gravel. I tried to understand what they meant by that because, I didn't know, are you saying that you don't like the UCI Gravel World Series? Because if you say that, what you're saying is you don't like the races that are a part of that. Paris to Ancaster, it's organized by local people. That's grassroots. Like it's a big race, but that's grassroots racing.
Yeah, yep.
Highlands, like all of these events. And actually, okay, hopefully no one gets mad at me for saying this, but what may not really be quite the same level of grassroots racing, Belgian Waffle Ride, Lifetime Grand Prix, like, and I'm not trying to throw shade at that. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to cast light onto this sometimes a little bit hypocritical argument that goes into what is and what isn't gravel and who is or who isn't a part of the gravel scene.
Yeah, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head with Lifetime. If that's a corporate run event, and
Yeah.
Lifetime is a publicly traded company that is in business to make money for shareholders, right? I mean,
Yep.
bottom line, that's their goal, and they're kind
Yeah.
of run like that. Like, hey, I did Leadville in 2003, maybe 2002 or three for the first time, and there were like 700 people at the starting line. 700 people signed up, maybe six or 500 at the starting line, and you could ride up St. Kevin's. Like the very first climb, you're, I don't know, 6 miles in, and you have your first climb. You had space to ride up it, and now it's uh, 2,000 people, 2,500 people
Wow.
schwamming in the
That's
same thing.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like,
Well,
hey, we'll take
see,
your check, write us a check. We're glad to cash your
yeah.
check. But
Well, and that's why that I think that hits on another aspect of this debate that's going on right now that is confusing to me because when I try to understand what exactly it is that people don't like about the UCI Gravel World Championships, and the whole road racing thing came up, right? Like it becomes more like a road race. I think part of that is simply because of the numbers. And so what I was trying to understand was, are they not happy with how many people are out here racing? Because I think, and maybe this is just because a lot of people haven't helped put on bike races before, but when you know that you have hundreds of people in your event and you're trying to do things the right way, you're trying to create a great race experience for them, you do have to make choices about your course. You you have to be
right,
realistic about where your course is going to go, how you're going to connect different parts of the course. And I'm not a race promoter. I haven't done this myself. Just trying to support friends and being a part of the bike racing community. This is just something I've noticed, is that if you want to put on a high quality event, you do have to make choices. And I think that the people who put on UCI Gravel World Championships, they definitely did a phenomenal job in putting together a really fun course that could be fun despite the fact that there were hundreds of racers out there and everybody was going fast. Everybody was trying to go fast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So tell me, I want to hear about your race. I want to hear um, about your experience. I want to hear about your experience getting there. And then I would also love a description of the course, like how you found it this year. So let's start with how you ended up getting there. We had a conversation about cyclocross, so I know you like playing in the dirt. I've seen you on a mountain bike, so I know you like playing in the dirt. How'd you end up doing gravel racing? I don't know you as a gravel
yeah.
racer.
Yeah, so this is I think actually this is really in the same vein as what we've been talking about so far, so I started racing bikes back in 2007. I was just like a punk fix kid. Like I was riding a track bike. I lived in Oakland and I had actually started out like, sorry, this is really going back, but like I got to give a shout out to Montana Velo, the bike shop that kind of got me into everything. I was just riding a pink beach cruiser around Oakland, and when the bike shop owner like saw my bike and he was like, "Oh, can I give you a spoke card? I have a card to put on your bike." And it was a picture of his face. He's like Grizzly Adams guy, and it says like, "Please don't touch my fucking bike." And that's how I got introduced to bike polo. And then from bike polo, it was into racing on the velodrome down at Hellier.
Oh wow.
And then it was just like gateway into bicycles. I did, so I think I was like 25 at the time, something like that. I didn't grow up wanting to ride bicycles. I was forced to ride a bicycle for just like getting to work. Um, but this was a whole new world for bike racing, and the reason this relates to your question is because at about that same time is when Murphy Mac in San Francisco started organizing a lot of adventure racing and mixed terrain racing. And we already had grasshoppers, right? So like this is California Bay Area. Grasshoppers started 1990, 98. And it was just a thing that people did where we underbiked. You had one bike.
Mm.
It had skinny tires that were smooth, but you wanted to be able to ride wherever you wanted to ride. So if that was dirt, if that was single track, if that was a fire road, it didn't matter. It was just all about adventure riding.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been doing that with my friends who got me into biking, really since when I like started getting serious about bikes, continued doing it, eventually got a cyclocross bike, which made it much easier.
Yeah.
Got into racing cyclocross. And then, unfortunately, when I got hit by a car, riding on the road was just something I didn't want to do anymore. I just didn't want to be on pavement.
Yeah. That's
And
fair.
it shifted my perspective from like, oh, I'm just doing an adventure ride because it's fun to like, I only want to be on dirt.
Hmm.
And I want to find as much dirt as possible where I'm as far away from the cars as possible. And so this was much later, when I was doing my PhD at Stanford, and I got connected to the Menlo Fellow cyclocross crew, right? Who those are our
Yep.
friends from Seattle.
Yep.
Great guys, amazing guys. And a lot of them were actually doing things like Belgian Waffle Ride. They were doing the gravel races. And so they would organize these really long mixed terrain rides to train. And so it was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to go out with you guys. And so my life for the past like years and years has just been riding on whatever trails feel fun, often on my cyclocross bike, because it's just fun. And throughout this whole time, I saw gravel building and building and building as a movement. And it actually did feel very separate from me,
Hmm.
partly because of this whole what is and what isn't gravel.
Yeah.
And it felt like what I was doing with mixed terrain riding wasn't really true gravel, quotation marks here. Um, and then I kept seeing gravel boom and grow. And I'm like, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
We have the same spirit. We are related.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
um,
super interesting because I would say that, like, coming from Iowa, having done the second, fourth, and sixth Trans Iowa, which Trans Iowa is what Unbound, what was then Dirty Kanza, was modeled kind of roughly after, a lot shorter. And you had a map for the whole race when you started instead of the first 50 miles, but whatever. Um, uh, what you're describing where you were riding, we would not call a gravel ride. We would call that, like, I don't even know what we'd call it. Probably a
yeah,
mountain bike ride. We'd call it a
stupidity.
mountain bike ride. Stupidity. No, no, super cool, super fun. Like, we would all love doing that, but that's not gravel. Like,
Yeah.
gravel are these rolling champagne roads that go off into the sunset and turn around and come back, right? I mean, that was gravel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And for a girl like me, I see photos like that and I'm like, man, that looks great. I wish I had that. Would be nice.
well, we
Um,
wish we had what you were riding in California as well. Um, but it's interesting you say that also because that's essentially what, okay, this is my understanding because I did not go, but essentially what you rode at the World Championships, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like mixed terrain.
Yeah, it was mixed terrain, but I wonder if part of it is just the video and the footage just can't do it justice. I tried to take footage while I was out there, but while I was riding on that stuff, I was just like this feels like gravel to me. A lot of this feels like gravel, especially because so much of the course went between plots of farmland.
Hmm.
And I think maybe it's just people being very literal about like they really want that champagne gravel, right? But in terms of like it, a lot of it was dirt roads that were wide, and like they had rocks that seemed like gravel on them. Um, but then, of course, there were these other sections where it was more like double track,
Uh-huh.
and part of that was just because it rains a lot there, things get rutted out, so anything that's up or downhill is going to have a lot less selection in terms of where you can ride and picking your line. And so there were a lot of sections where things got really strung out simply because it's just not possible to like ride 10 abreast. And then I think I've been talking a lot about this on social media lately, and something that one commenter brought up was the difference between American roads and European roads, where American roads are made for American cars, which are
Right.
giant, and that's not the case in Europe. So a lot of times, what feels like a bike path to us is actually a road.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a great analogy because I don't know. I would guess most of the people who listen to the show like watch stuff like the Tour de France, and like how many times am I pointing at the TV saying they're on a freaking bike path? They're on a bike path. That can't be a road. It is so narrow. So that's a great analogy. Like that, your 2 lane or 2 track dirt rock path that you think is a path is That's a road by European
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah, and so like as I've been trying to process all of this lately, I keep coming back to this hilarious idea that I absolutely love, which is the spirit of gravel, right? And I would love for you to do a podcast about like where did that idea even start? Because I'm trying to remember, and I know it was a couple years ago, and it's a total joke, right? Like the spirit of gravel. Um, but
Has become for sure. It has. I mean, that they're them's fighting words.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Sometimes.
Well, so in terms of like it being personified, or like whenever I hear Spirit of Gravel, I really just think Spirit Halloween store, so that's why it's a joke in my head. But truly, more seriously, the Spirit of Gravel can be a genuine and sincere concept.
For
And
sure, for sure.
when I've been going through this mentally, like trying to parse out like the gatekeeping, I have had to ask myself, okay, what defines a gravel race? And obviously, I don't agree that it should just be like, well, do you have this perfect gravel? I don't think that it should be literal. Um, I think that it should adhere to this idea of the spirit of gravel. Is it in the spirit of gravel? Is this race in the spirit of what gravel racing is meant to be? And I think that comes back to what we were talking about, adventure, right? Like
Yep.
the adventure, the challenge, the sort of leveling of the playing field between roadies and mountain bikers and cyclocrossers, where everybody's at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
You can't choose the right bike. You can't choose the perfect training plan. You you're going to make a bad decision at some point along the way. I think that's the spirit of gravel. And if your race is living up to that idea and that spirit, you're gravel.
Hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, I like that. It definitely is the types of riding and the types of quote unquote gravel are definitely evolving. And it's like we did a race, a friend of mine put on a race 2 hours south of Des Moines, hour south of Des Moines this summer. It was his first time. And oh gosh, we were on like, I don't know, 10 foot wide mowed grass paths through the woods, and not just like 100 yards. It was miles of it, and then it was miles of these horrible rutted. Happened to be dry, thank goodness, but we call them B roads, and they're literally just like a path through a field. Um, and then 15 of the hardest easy flat miles you could ever have on this. It was Iowa's first rail trail, and it literally was just like they took the railroad ties out, and now it's a trail.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, but 2.5 miles was like long grass, and if you've ridden cyclocross, you know
Oh
how
yeah.
before a line forms in the on the course, like
Yep.
going through that long grass is like wearing a
Yeah.
freaking
Oh yeah. I watch World Cup mountain bike racing, and one of the funniest things is, without fail, whenever the course is on grass, the commentators will talk about how grass is the worst terrain to
it
ride
is
on.
so hard. It is so hard.
I am happy to say that like this year, I feel like I've gotten a little bit better at riding on grass. That did feel very rewarding. But yeah, in terms of terrain, so I'm in New England now. I started out in California, and that was also, so getting back to the question about how did I end up at Gravel World, UCI Gravel Worlds, because respect, there is another Gravel Worlds. And so it was like I saw this movement happening, kind of felt disconnected to it from it, simply because I felt like, oh, I'm riding single track, I'm doing mixed terrain. But then coming out to New England, they had this New England gravel series. And I started doing a few of those races in New Hampshire, so pavement ends, mainly gravel, and the Guilford gravel grinder in Vermont. And you could not talk about a more varied set of courses.
Hmm.
So pavement ends is, oh, I'm going to mess up this. They call it, I think they call them class 4 roads, but they're like Jeep trails.
Hmm.
And so they're not maintained in the winter, basically. And pavement ends happens at the end of March, beginning of
Oh
April, which
boy.
is basically
It's
still
called Mud
winter.
Month. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this past year, actually, so like 2 years ago, it snowed really badly the night before the race, and
Oof.
I still did the race anyways. It was great. And then this year, I was like, okay, it can't be worse than 2 years ago. Can't be worse than 2 years ago. And New England weather was just like, hold my beer. It was like 8 inches of powder
Oh
on
wow.
so much of the course. So much of the course was just snow. A lot of people didn't show up for it because it had snowed that badly, like really close up to the race, to the point where even just getting to the race was really sketchy because most of the roads hadn't been plowed yet. And so this is kind of one of those funny things now. I'm like, well, I raced on snow.
Right.
That wasn't gravel.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, that's called a fat bike race. Fat type fat bike race. Yeah. Those are held in the winter in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
I
So,
can't wait to try them one day. If I end up out in the Midwest, you guys have such a great bike racing scene. I did get to go to Trek Cup last year,
hmm
and big shout out to that community and race organizers. Like, what a party! And if you're listening to this and thinking about what cyclocross weekend should I go to, it's absolutely worth it.
yeah, 100%. That is a super great weekend. It's super fun. It's like Trek is your parents celebrating their 50th
Yeah.
anniversary and throwing a
Yes.
huge party in their backyard every
Yes.
year. Like Trek is that is Trek. Like they are inviting you to their backyard to come play for the weekend, and it's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. This year, I don't know. I get uh the single speed
Right.
cyclocross world championships were the same weekend as Trek, and I
So
want to say they
unfortunate.
were in Minneapolis.
I
No,
am embarrassed I can't remember because I do actually have a couple of friends who were out there, and I should know this.
I should too, because Brian West, who won last year, is a good friend of mine, and I had him on the podcast, and we talked a lot about him going to try and win it for uh, whatever town he lives in Montana. I want to say Missoula. Um, and gosh, I can't think of. Anyway,
But
that
now
is
that
a riotous weekend for
yeah, I
cyclocross.
so I'm very happy to say I have gotten to experience single speed cyclocross world championships once when it was in Golden Gate Park.
Hmm.
Murphy Mack, who I was talking about, as so much respect for Murphy. I'm going to send you the link to this podcast just so you can hear me praising you. But he really helped to make that happen in Golden Gate Park, and it was just such a party, so much fun. I would love to again, But cyclocross, there you go again. A lot of times, like I think I remember the first time hearing someone complain about how a race wasn't a gravel race, and it was pavement ends, the one I was just telling you about in New Hampshire. And, they were complaining because that race goes on some pretty gnarly trails. And I think that these were people who were mostly used to road racing, and they were upset that some of the course was more like a cyclocross race.
Hmm.
And I've seen that criticism again and again, where, oh, it's not a gravel race because there's these cyclocross races within it. And I'm like, well, the spirit of gravel kind of started with cyclocross. Like, if you try to figure out where all of this came from, and we were talking about this earlier, but I just love this image of messengers having to traverse whatever terrain was in front of them and having to take their bike on places that they really shouldn't have been. The original underbiking, that's
Right.
the roots of gravel. That's where the spirit of gravel was born. And so Is it really that bad for a gravel race to have some elements of cyclocross to it? Is
Yeah,
we can't
yeah.
have
I
that?
mean, I feel like the um whatever has come off the it's not the wheels. There's a state. I'm doing really bad with thinking of stuff. Um, but like anything goes these days. I feel like anything goes. Like I look at Core 4, which we call a gravel race, and it's on single track, and it's on pavement, and it's through farm fields, and it's through
Oh,
grass,
nice.
and um, yeah, limestone paths. It's on everything, and it's on
Yeah.
beautiful champagne gravel. So,
Oh, I can't
um,
wait yeah. I mean, and that goes also back to this idea that like bike racers or bike organizers, race organizers, they're really trying their best to make things accessible. So again, now that's also something important for gravel race, like accessibility and inclusion. Um, that's definitely spirit of gravel. And I think there are so many people who want to be a part of the gravel community. They see this amazing thing building and happening. There's nothing else like it in the bike world. They want to be a part of it, and they're going to try to build whatever they can to fit with it and to go with it, right? And
mhm.
you have to ride what you have. You ride what is near you. I was really surprised that there aren't a lot of true proper gravel roads in New England. Mainly gravel is probably the closest I think that we really get to that. And maybe there's some other roads, but I've talked to a lot of people about this out here, and you just don't see those really classic style gravel roads.
Yeah,
But we want to be a part of this, you
yeah.
know?
It's kind of like the saying, you run what you brung,
Yep.
and you ride what you got. So whatever's in your area is what you go out on. Um, so adventure riding, you did adventure riding back in California. You've brought that to the East Coast. How did you end up? I'm not. Uh, I was. Ah, can I say shocked? Is it? Are you offended if I say shocked to see that you were
Shucks.
going to the gravel championships?
Oh, no, 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 not at all, right? Like,
It blew, not
it's
fitness
pretty
wise, not
wild.
fitness. I knew like last season you did the
No, it was
UCI.
giant. It
Yeah,
was giant for
I,
me.
I was blown away. Blown away is the right word. I can use blown away. I was blown away to see that you were going over to do the gravel world championships. How did you end up doing them? How did you end up going
Yeah,
there? And I want to clarify also, I've had on Jenna Reinhardt last year after the gravel world. She did the elite race with freaking Mariana Voss, et cetera, et cetera.
wow.
Um, but we're talking about the kind of the age group
Yeah, yeah,
races, and I'm super curious to hear about how that works. How did you get in? How did
yeah.
you end up going?
And I definitely want to talk about this because coming home, one of the big messages I wanted to send out to other women my age, other women in the sport, is that you should be taking advantage of this. This is like, go out and do it. As scary as it feels, as wild and crazy as it feels, um, if you have a qualifying event near you, just do it. Just, like do your best, try to qualify. You can always say that you don't want to go, but I think that, just being realistic here in terms of the numbers, it is easier for women to qualify because we don't have as many people racing. So this year, the way that the gravel UCI Gravel World Series qualification went was that anyone in top 25% of their age group at a qualifying event qualified.
Wow.
So
So if there are 100 people, the top 25,
yeah, yeah.
that's a lot.
And but
That's
if there's
deep.
only four,
That's one.
in the same set, like if you're racing in an age group where you only have four people, and sorry, actually, it's not just the top 25%, it's the top three racers, and it doesn't matter how big
Oh,
your field is. Yeah, so
okay, cool. So if there's
it's really
four,
great.
75%.
Yeah.
because it's top
So,
three. The podium goes.
so because I had kind of had this like wrangling with like, am I actually a gravel racer? Because I love riding mixed terrain, so existential angst, um, and racing gravel in New England. I was like, you know what? I want to try to grow and like improve my endurance. So I'm going to target this gravel. I'm going to target this gravel series in New England. That's going to be my main focus for the year. And as part of that, my friend Adam Meyerson had invited me to go out to Paris to Ancaster. And like it's related because I was like, oh, that's a good event for me to train on. That is a great training event. It happens in Canada. It's a great race. It's like 62 miles. People could argue whether or not it's gravel. And Adam invited me to go. I went, I qualified, and that was the goal, was to at least qualify for Gravel Worlds so that I would have that option. I didn't think I was going to necessarily do it at the time, um, but I had that option. And then as kind of the weeks started passing by, I was like, wait, why wouldn't I do this? Like, I can do it, right? And
Yeah.
as simple as that sounds, I think there is a lot of depth in that idea that if you have the capacity to do something amazing, and you don't know when you're going to have that opportunity again. And that was the big motivation for going out and doing the USCX series last year, was that I had the ability to just do it. I couldn't do it this year. I'm glad I did it. So it was like, I can organize this trip. Um, I can train for this. I can be happy even if I don't do well at the race. So I'm going to go big.
Huh, that's awesome. I I'm on episode like 164 or something, so I'm not going to do this, but I would love to go back and see how many times in a conversation that the difference that occurred in somebody's life was because they said yes.
Yes. Yes.
It's such a great lesson, though. I mean, how many times do we make excuses and say no? Well, I
Yeah.
can't. Well, I'll go next year. And then your freaking leg breaks or your
Exact, the
wheel
leg
falls
break
off
thing.
or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I learned this a lot through COVID. That was, because 2019, when we met at Cyclocross National Championships, I was really ramping up my training and starting to feel like I was coming into form and getting to a new level. And then COVID hit, and all of the racing stopped, and everything changed after that, right?
Yep.
Could not really go back to where I was before that. And same happened when I got hit by a car. And that definitely opened up this idea in my mind that like you have to seize opportunities when they're in front of you. Um, and not putting it off until next year or whatnot. I think I also really like this idea of just being here now and living in the moment and not, or recognizing that tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Accurate statement. It's not. We should say yes. Um, so you committed to it. How long ago? How long? How far away from the event were you when you decided to do it? And then how did you prepare for it in the amount of time you had?
Yeah, this was a little tricky because I say yes to a lot of things, and I
Fair.
mean, I told you earlier that I try to say no to say yes. My PhD mentor taught me that, and I try to follow it, but I'm not very good at it. And this year I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do so much stuff. So I wanted to do the New England Gravel Series. I wanted to do Paris to Ancaster. I wanted to do the Jam Fund Adventure Ride, which is like 75 miles of really crazy mixed terrain. Man, this stuff would piss people off. Um,
Adventure. We're renaming
yeah,
it adventure riding.
yeah. Um, and then I also really wanted to do this fundraiser for cancer, which is called the Pan Mass Challenge. And so these are events that take place between the end of March. So that was my first gravel race of the year, was Pavement Ends. It was the end of March, beginning April. Can't remember exact weekend. And then the last gravel race of my season was mainly gravel, and that was in August. And it was back-to-back weekends of mainly gravel with the Pan Mass Challenge. Pan Mass Challenge for me was 93 miles that I rode solo. Um, and then, of course, I wanted to go straight into cyclocross racing.
Right.
So basically, to prepare, I was like, I'm just gonna ride my bike as much as I possibly can. I mean, that's a little bit of an injustice because, I do have a coach. I get coached through Cycle Smart. Jordan Vieira is my coach, and he's amazing. And if you ask him, there was probably a lot more thought that went into what I was doing at each time of year, but building the base, right?
Yeah. 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 What that says to me is that he's a good leader and made you believe you're just out riding your bike
Yeah,
when it's
exactly.
intentional training. He had it all planned out. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think unfortunately, about a month before UCI Gravel Worlds, I got sick. And
Hmm.
this, I would say, like in terms of like more serious training advice and preparing for an event like this, what I wish would have had done happened differently. So I had the base, had the endurance, but as people have noted, the speed and intensity of these events is really, really, really high. That is where you do have this more crit-like type of pace. And I think especially getting sick a month before the event and then going on my honeymoon right before the event, I just didn't have the high intensity training. There was nothing Jordan could do about, right? That was like I had to get healthy and then I needed to be present in my marriage.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
Yep. Hashtag priorities.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So when you got over there, how did you find the course? I'm guessing you got over there in time to ride some
Yeah,
areas of it.
so I think that part of it worked out pretty well. I got into town on Thursday. We took the train from Paris. It was relatively easy. I am glad that I spent the extra money for a premium ticket on Eurostar because I don't really think I was supposed to take my bike bag the way that I did on the train. But no one gave me a hard time. I had to kind of be sneaky with how I tucked it behind the seats because it didn't
Hmm.
actually fit on the luggage rack. So, in case you've ever thought about taking the Eurostar between Paris and Brussels, be prepared for that. But the train systems are amazing. So, we got from Paris to Maastricht in about 5 hours, I want to say, three different trains.
Hmm.
Then we rented a car in the Netherlands, which you don't need an international permit for. So that was pretty easy. Driving in the Netherlands is really straightforward and easy also. They're all great drivers. It is nothing like Boston. If you can drive in Boston, you can drive in the Netherlands. Um, and then USA Cycling actually has a service course, a team house there in Sittard, and they very kindly organized a welcome barbecue for us. So thank
Oh,
you, USAC, for that. That was really nice because from day one, then you're getting to see friendly faces and you feel like you're a part of a great community. So then Friday is when I pre-rode the course. I pre-rode the main loop. I didn't do all of the parts. I am glad that I, it was a little extra for the day before the race because I think going slowly, it took me about a little like 2.5 hours, I want to say. So I probably shouldn't have been my bike for that long, but it is what it is.
It is what
Uh,
it is.
it was a nice, it was a really nice ride. And it let me go into the race feeling very calm and just happy to be there. So, in terms of the course itself and the community, South Lindbergh, amazing. Beautiful, beautiful farmlands, really, really like kind, fun people who love the cycling community. Really cute little old towns, kind of scattered all along the course. And then, like I was mentioning earlier, in terms of terrain, you had some dirt roads going between farmland. It really didn't feel like that much pavement. I know the
Hmm,
last part of it was where most of the pavement was
hmm.
and most of the bike paths, but the main loop that we did like almost 2.5 times, it didn't feel like a lot of pavement. And it was this mix between those dirt roads and these paths that were more like double track. Um, I would not do them the injustice of just calling them bike paths.
Fair enough. Um, uh, what was the distance of that main loop?
I want to say it was about 20 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, from the start finish. Yeah, and then also the organizers, the expo, everything was so easy. Like, and there was no chaos. There was no pre-race chaos,
Hmm.
like it was actually really impressive. I felt really relaxed.
Huh. I'm impressed that like you did the age group thing. You didn't rate. You weren't on the elite in the elite race, and it sounds like USAC acknowledged your presence and welcomed
Yeah,
you. I mean, I think
yeah.
that's cool. Like,
I was also really surprised. I didn't know what to expect. And I think this is pretty awesome on their part. And I think that this really speaks to the spirit of gravel, and I am aware of the controversies around USAC and UCI. Like I guarantee to anybody listening, I have a lot of mixed feelings over um, participating in the event given some of the choices that have been made. It was a personal decision to continue being a part of this community specifically so that I can exercise my voice and be a voice of support for inclusivity. But so getting back to your question of like, USAC acknowledging us, it was a really pleasant surprise when I got an email from Eric, the membership director, the director of membership, who, there were a bunch of us on the email list, and he's like, I'm going to help connect you guys. We're going to set up this welcome barbecue. And there was never this question of like, oh, you're not an elite racer. And I think that is such in the spirit of gravel, where it is a people sport.
hmm,
It is about the entire community, from the 12-year-old or however early they start to the 80 something year olds. And if you go on the Instagram page for the UCI Gravel World Championships, they have multiple clips, and you see people racing who I really do think that he must have been like 70, 80, pretty high up there, and they inspire me to keep being a part of it. So kudos to USAC for that.
yeah,
I
that's cool.
appreciate it.
So you were in the 40 to 45,
Yep,
and how many women from the U.S. went
I
in
want
that
to
age group?
in that age group there I want to say there were about four of us, but I could be wrong, and I'm so sorry if I'm missing somebody. Surprisingly, we were actually one of the smaller age groups. I think we had about 45 women in our age group. 19 to 34 easily had over 100.
Wow.
The age group above us, 45 to 49, um, they had more than we did also. So it started out small. At first, I thought there were only going to be like four or five um, age group women from the US going, but it ended up being, I want to say, at least 3 to 4 times that.
Oh, wow. In all ages, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
across all
Huh.
the ages.
Oh, that's super cool. And did you get to know, A, did you know any of them beforehand? And B, did you get to know any and will stay in touch?
Yeah, so I love making bike friends. I mean, obviously, right? Like we're bike
6 years
friends.
later, yeah, for sure. Almost 7 years
Um,
later.
this is one of my favorite things about racing bicycles, is, getting to meet people from all over the country, all over the world. And, so like even Meredith Moran, who shout out to her, I actually think she may have been the top placing amateur woman from the United States.
Hmm.
I need to double check, but she got 15th in our age group, which is really impressive. So she's also from the New England area. She's here in Boston, and we had never talked to each other until we got to the Netherlands.
Wow,
And
that's
though,
crazy.
and it wasn't on purpose or anything. It was just like, when your worlds don't really overlap.
Right.
So it was really fun to get to like become friends in another country.
Yeah, that's
Um,
wild. That is totally wild.
but
Because,
my
yeah,
friend,
you'd think like two of similar aged women doing the
yeah.
exact same thing from the same city and have never met until they get over into freaking the Netherlands.
Yeah. So, and then my friend Sarah Malm, I met her racing cross country national championships. Or no, sorry, I had met her because we both raced mountain bikes in California. And then we ended up also in 2019 at cross country mountain bike national championships. And we just became good bike friends and stayed that way. And actually, I ended up riding with her group
Hmm.
for a big duration, like the second half of the race, basically. And then shout out to Ali and Siobhan, who were also in my age group and were just really sweet. I hope that we all stay in touch and stay friends.
Huh. That's cool. That's awesome. Um, and how did the race go for you? I mean, you've dropped some
Yeah.
hints.
Oh my
You've
God.
definitely
So,
dropped some hints.
um, so the start was great. It was very much a road race start. I was up near the front, and I don't ride in a pack very often. And so that was a little bit challenging for me, which it really becomes an issue after turns. And so this is what happens is if you're not great at riding in the pack, you're going to be kind of dangling off the back or on the sides. And whenever the pack is going to go through a turn, there's always going to be an acceleration coming out of that turn. And if you're not in a good position, you're having to put out way more watts to try to maintain your position in the pack. And this is just one of my weaknesses. I am aware of it. And so by about 25 minutes into the race, I had already put out like 4 to 5 big efforts trying to stay with the group. And then we hit one of those double track sections that was a slight downhill, and things got really strung out. I was definitely near the back. It's pretty chaotic trying to ride with everybody. But respect to all the women in my field. They're great bike handlers. We didn't have sketchy things happening. There were no crashes. And then coming out of that downhill where the speed was pretty high, we make this 90-degree turn into this paved climb in RAR. And I was maybe like mid pack at that moment, but feeling pretty gassed. And I look to my left and I see Meredith just going with the attack and going with the leaders. So basically we hit this climb and people just like really hit the gas. You either hit the gas or you exploded. And I exploded. And so then for probably the next, I want to say close to hour, I was really just trying to catch on and stay with whatever group I could. And that was just really challenging. I felt like I didn't have any top ends. When basically you have that flat tire feeling.
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
felt like I was riding with a flat tire. I was like, how are you going so fast? Um,
Because I'm
so,
dragging a brick behind me, and you're look like you're not. Oh wait, I don't
yeah.
have a brick behind me. It just feels like I do. Yeah, that's. I mean that's travel plus a long ride the day before. Well, 2 hour ride the day before. I'm sure it wasn't hard, but effort wise, and then like turning yourself inside out in the first half
Yeah,
hour,
I think that was really it.
all, yeah, that's all going
Yeah,
to add up.
and I think the pre-race nutrition, being gluten free, it was hard to get the carbohydrates that I needed, but all excuses aside, I'll also put this out there for any women listening to this. Like, I'll be realistic about my fitness and what I'm capable of. Like, I can have some good races and I can do well for short events, and for short intensity, and like I've had my fair share of successes, but I also know that like I am not at the same level as a lot of the women who are doing these long distance events. And that's okay. Like, and that's why I want to say it and call it out, is because I know that there are a lot of women who are afraid, or maybe not afraid, but like a bit worried about going out to do an 80-mile gravel race, right? And I think that I've grown a lot in the past couple of years of trying to prioritize this and trying to build my endurance. And I think, if anything, I'm excited by the fact that where I am right now, I know is only, I haven't met my full potential.
Hmm.
And I am still growing, and I am still gaining fitness, and I am still getting better and improving. Um, and so maybe it'll take me until I'm the age of 50. Maybe it'll take me until 60. Um,
Your best days can still be ahead, right?
I do feel that way. I
Yeah.
genuinely feel like my best days are still ahead of me. And I think that that's true for a lot of women. So I hope that, I hope that seeing someone like me, little old me, uh, go out there may motivate someone to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think it's, well, say yes, right?
Yeah.
Um, you go to the, um, is the qualifying event in the U.S. the only one in Arkansas?
So I think it might be actually. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and is that where you did your qualifier in
No,
Arkansas?
so mine was Paris to Ancaster in Canada.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, we can go across the border. Okay,
It
cool.
was it was great. It was
Yeah.
really, really great. Shout out to another friendly community.
Where is that? What part of Canada?
Oh God, I'm embarrassed because I don't know Canadian geography very well, but we basically, you go through the Niagara Falls area and then just
Ontario.
head Ontario. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm
It's
sorry,
not out
Canada.
west. It's not in BC or Vancouver area or anything. It's Eastern
Right.
Canada. Eastern Canada would have been
Very close to the border.
appropriate, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. Um, so that's an option too. To like, if there is only the one in Arkansas, I think it's High Country, um,
Highlands.
Highlands.
Oh,
Um,
there must have been another one though, because Highlands was that recent? Because I know some people
I don't
only
know.
qualified like 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3
Oh
weeks
my,
ago.
really? Yeah, I
So,
think it.
I think all of this is so new, like, um,
Right.
that it could end up being something completely different next year.
Yeah. I wonder, it would make sense if the U.S. Gravel National Championship qualify would be a qualifying event. That would certainly make sense. And that was a few weeks ago. So I wonder if some
Yeah.
people did that and qualify. I'll have to research that. Look for it in the show notes, or maybe I'll do some research for my intro and outro and clear that up. Because I think it is a cool thing, and I think it's an opportunity for people like us to go do something big, to have something
Yeah.
big to train for, uh, to do the qualifying event is kind of a big fun event. And then if you qualify, to actually go, I think that's a cool opportunity for somebody other than Keegan Swenson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I would absolutely, I'm going to dig up information and kind of have it all in the show notes and have some, clicks um, to information and try and clear some of this up in my intro and outro.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from some of the officials too, what they think and what their vision is for next year. I haven't really seen anything from the UCI in terms of statements on like this is how we see this happening next year, you know.
Who from the US USAC, all these acronyms are running together in my brain, did you work with? Was it like Stephen Hyde works with cyclocross and gravel? What, like, was Stephen Hyde part of it? Like, who did you
So
work with?
the only people who were on the email chains, so Eric, and I hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody, but Eric, and I'm forgetting his last name. He was the one sending out the emails, and then Jan is in the Netherlands, and he runs that team house that hosts Team USA cycling over the year for multiple
Mm-hmm.
disciplines.
Yep.
But that was really kind of it.
Okay. So we don't have to your like a USAC gravel person.
That's a good question, actually. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if gravel ends up in the Olympics, I could see gravel in the Olympics. That would be interesting,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, and that also like that kind of goes back to like what makes gravel different than other types of bike racing and like what defines gravel. And actually coming back with all of this on my mind, I put in my Instagram story my analogies for bike races as board games. I know, this is so random. Um, but it started because I was thinking about how UCI Gravel Worlds, yes, I will fully admit, was like a road race in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this was something we were talking about earlier too, where it's like the people who did well were riding in packs with men. The women were, right? So
Right,
like
right.
the elite women, they finished at I think just like 3 hours and 58 minutes, something like that, on that order. And then the
80
winners of
miles.
81 miles, yeah. So
81
they
miles.
were
That's cooking.
it's cooking. Yeah, it was, I
Yeah.
want to say 33 kilometers an hour was the average time for the elite women. And then my age group, the winners, came in at 4 hours and 10 minutes.
Dang.
So the difference between Mariana Voss's group and the leaders in my group was only 10 minutes over an 81-mile race. That is really fast for an amateur women's 40 to 44 plus, right? So you ask yourself, how did, and it's not because we're underestimating people, we're just like kind of knowing thing, like being realistic here. And you look, and it's because, and my husband was watching the race, like from the sidelines, the leaders in my group had formed a pack with the Masters men.
Hmm.
And so they were racing with the Masters men. And so it wasn't just women in my age group, it was also Masters men who can go really fast. And so that's what's deciding who wins and who loses in gravel. And then when you look at the next pack of women in my age group, they were also coming in a group of men. And even me, like at the end, I caught on to a group where it was one guy pulling us, three women, and we're going 20 miles an hour. Just trying to hang on to this guy's will at the end of an 81-mile race. So it is very different in some ways, but like the similarity to road racing is that if you want to win, you need to at least be able to ride with that fast group
Mm-hmm.
for a big part of the race. Um, and so, anyway, I was thinking about how this game of chess, right, especially in the elite women's field,
For sure.
the game of chess that unfolds at the end,
Right.
and how that is road racing. So that's how I got into my board game analogy.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, definitely a game of chess. And that was the women's elite finale was super interesting. Like
So cool.
they were all in the same colored
Yeah.
jerseys and they all wanted to win.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't even, when I watched that finish, I actually didn't even have the controversy in my mind that came up later, because I was just looking at the lead out, right? And I was just looking at Lorena Wiebes's sprint, and like, God, her sprint is just so incredible, you know? So
For
I was
sure.
watching that, just like, yeah, Lorena Wiebes, amazing. And I was looking at how their other teammate, who I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name, how she closed the gap down. Um, but I was, yeah. So then later on, the controversy came up, and it was a little bit confusing. But it was a very, very spectacular finish to watch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And knowing the history of the Dutch women in national type events, Olympics and world championships, like they all want to win.
Yeah,
They all
and
want to win. Yep.
and that's the other thing about the gravel race, right? Is that it's not a team sport. It isn't road racing.
Hmm.
And so even if this uh, e- even if they were intending to race together as a nationals team, I don't think it's right to expect them to treat it as if it were a road race, where yes, we are going to have a lead out train. Yes, we are going to set up this person to win. I think that it is good to keep that part of the spirit of gravel alive, where it's meant to be a solo race.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And fastest person wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if that means it's because you could hang on to the group with the men,
Yeah.
more power to you.
Did you start with the men? How did the start work?
So the start was really interesting because they did have the Masters men group interspersed. So it was basically the elite women started first, and then they had some delays. I couldn't really keep track of it, and I don't think they exactly followed the schedule. I think they did want to give the elite women a big gap. And so basically, the staging area was probably at least 400 meters long,
Wow.
all along this road, where they had the different age groups and then tape between the groups. So they put a lot of effort into getting us all set up. This started probably at least 30 minutes before the race actually started. So it was very organized. And
Hmm.
I really appreciate that, because even though a lot of gravel racing is men and women racing together, and that's cool, it adds a cool dynamic. I don't like the mass start thing where it's just 1,000 of us.
Yeah. Right.
I'm
Right.
sorry. I can't get down with that.
Huh. So you had your own group of I think you
We
said
got our own
45
starts.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that that matters. And if there's any organizers listening to this, like, I think there is a lot of good reason to give age groups their own starts, so that you at least know who you're racing with, and also just for safety, right? Because,
Hmm.
like, sorry, but the fact is that even though some of us, like, there can be guys who are a lot more fit than me, but may not have the same bike handling skills.
100%.
And if I get stuck behind them in a mass start event, it's dangerous for both of us. So there is no perfect solution, but I do think that staging the different groups so that they start together and then just going out in waves is a really good way to approach it.
How much time between your waves
I want to say it was at
approximately?
least a minute.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
some of them were 30 seconds, but I feel like they did give the group between the elite women and the masters men, I feel like they gave it a couple minutes.
How long until you were mixing with men?
Oh man, it happened so fast.
Really? Did you catch or
Uh,
did you get caught?
no, I think at first we it was getting caught. So okay, maybe it wasn't super fast because it didn't happen until after the climb in RAR. So I
Oh,
think my group did do a good job of, like, the we were going pretty fast, and so it was about 30 minutes and when we hit that climb. And then we started descending and going on to more technical uphill. That's, I think, when one of the men's groups behind us caught us.
Huh. Super interesting. Well, we've been going on for, oh gosh, hour 13. I think, what did I say, 45 minutes or so? So I guess I lied about that. But
It's too fun talking to you.
it is too fun.
It's
I
too
love
fun
it.
getting to talk gravel. It's really,
Yeah.
really cool. And we didn't even talk science or any of that
We
stuff.
did not talk science, and you're an accomplished scientist, and kind of going through the struggles with that currently. And I don't know that I want to get deep into it, but I do want people to know that, like, what is happening nationally has an effect on human beings' lives.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. My grant was terminated earlier this year. And I think the most upsetting part about it for me was the termination letter that I got had this language that alluded to the fact that I wasn't doing good science.
Oof.
And so I study age-related neurodegeneration. That's been my interest for a long time now. And the work that I had proposed to do, and I had proposed this work to the National Institute on Aging and received a grant to do it, was to investigate the cellular mechanisms that drive that neurodegeneration and to pursue potential therapeutics. And this kind of bogus letter that I received was that um, they felt that science based on nebulous categories was not good science. It doesn't even make sense. Like,
It
it was
sounds
just
very
bogus.
specific. Like all
So,
those words you just used were very specific, not nebulous.
so what it comes down to is that part of the funding mechanism that enabled me to do my work was to diversify the neuroscience workforce. And at the end of the day, what it came down to was that word diversity was a part of the funding mechanism. And it didn't matter what that diversity was about. It didn't, none of that matters. And we don't have to get into the details of it. But so yeah, my grant was terminated. And I'm very lucky to be in a place where I'm surrounded by supportive people who believe in my work. And so I'm okay. I still have a job. I get to still do my science, but things are pretty chaotic right now.
Yeah, that's
And so
crazy.
that actually, I think that's been a big part of what I've been juggling this year as a bike racer too, is trying to keep a cool, trying trying to find the balance between the work that I love and what is my top priority, um, given all of the chaos that's happening, while also enjoying riding my bike.
Yeah. Well, maybe enjoying riding your bike helps you uh, maintain focus and vision when
Yeah,
you are in the lab.
yeah,
Or,
definitely.
yeah. Well, Joy, it's been a super treat, and I would say, gosh, I would just encourage people to like give it a shot. Like
Yeah,
it's a rare opportunity, and why not? So
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome getting to chat with you. I'm so glad I got to unpack a lot of these ideas, and I learned, so I've been practicing my French this year. That was
sweet.
one of my other personal goals, and I learned this phrase, qui ne risque rien gagne. Oh wait, no, qui. Oh no, see, I'm screwing it up.
Of course you are.
Stage fright, stage fright. I'll
Yeah,
say it in
yeah.
English. Um, he who risks nothing has nothing.
Oh, très bien.
I
I'll answer
promise
in
I speak
French.
better than what I did today.
Fair enough, fair enough. I've actually got on cue the guy who won the race I want you to come to, Core 4,
Oh, nice.
uh, and he's French Canadian. And
Oh,
he's like,
amazing.
"Oh, this will be a good opportunity to practice my English." And I'm like, "Well, maybe it's a good opportunity for me to practice my French." So I'll get that phrase out of him in French. How's that?
Beautiful.
Yeah. I got to write that down to make sure I remember to do that. But Joy, your Instagram is fun to follow. You also do quite a bit of writing. You have a blog.
That I don't really I don't really pay attention to very often because I'm busy with other things. But I love being a part of the bike community, and that's 100% my motivation for trying to maintain an Instagram. It's like I really cycling means so much to me. We didn't talk about like my background in terms of how I got to where I am with science and whatnot. But anyway, point is, bike community is awesome, and Instagram is my way of staying connected with that and trying to stay connected with the amazing people that I meet along the way. It's 100% about that.
Awesome. And is it just Joy Franco?
I think it's Engineering Joy. It's
it is Engineering Joy. Yeah. Yep.
All one word, no underscore.
Yeah. I'll put a link in the show notes, obviously, but yeah, I think it's yours. You should know it is Engineering Joy. But again, treat to have you on, treat to catch up, treat to see you again, and I'm so glad that you said yes and went over to the Netherlands to represent the U.S. in the Stars and Stripes and be a international ambassador for the U.S. for all of us here. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure catching up with Joy, and I really appreciate her taking the time to jump on a call. And I agree. Celui qui ne risque rien n'a rien. He who risks nothing has nothing. You can keep up with Joy and all she has to offer on Instagram at Engineering Joy. And if you want to give the UCI Gravel World Championships a try, you can find all the info on races around the world at UCIGravelWorldSeries.com. There are actually a couple of left this year, November 1st in Thailand and November 9th in Portugal, so if you act fast. Now, pretty soon they'll have all of the 2026 info, and you might be able to find one that would be closer to you and you could actually plan for. But hey, if you're in Thailand or Portugal coming up in November, hop on, why not? Well, thanks again for tuning in. I would love it if you would give a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, subscribe. And while you're at it, give us a follow on Instagram and YouTube. Of course, every episode is available at biketalk.bike. Well, peace, joy, and happiness, everyone. I hope you have a great week. Enjoy your fall rides, and remember that nothing compares to the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle.